Humans have harnessed wind energy ever since we set sail. But even though we've been using it for millennia, wind energy is in trouble. But an emerging technology has just come to market that might revolutionize the way we harness wind energy. Despite growing year over year in countries like the US, UK, India, and Canada, wind has a major drawback that other energy sources like hydro don't. This is La Grande 1 in Quebec, Canada. La Grande is one of the many dams in the region. The amount of power the dam can produce is flexible. They need only open the floodgates to supply the region with nearly 97% of its daily energy needs. This is because hydro stations are effectively giant batteries. When we think of batteries, it's easy to think of lithium-ion, the ones in your phone. But batteries come in all different forms. Hydro could be thought of as another battery. After all, a battery is just a container for energy waiting to be used. And the energy potential for a hydro station is mostly predictable. This is what makes hydro so appealing as a green energy technology when compared to wind. But hydro can't be used everywhere. Hydro stations often require the construction of huge dams on a valley or a lake with existing water. And many places simply can't do this because of the topology of the land or economic reasons. Wind, on the other hand, is different. It doesn't have nearly as strict requirements for construction, and nearly any country with a coastline or a flat region can utilize it. The issue with wind is, unlike hydropower, we don't have any floodgates to open. Wind, unlike water, is unpredictable. We can't plan for peak electrical demand with wind power. Conversely, on an exceptionally windy day, you may even need to shut down wind turbines entirely to prevent mechanical damages. What we need is something with the energy storage of hydropower, while still being as versatile as wind energy. This is the inspiration behind the drift hydrofoil, a new type of wind technology that generates electricity with sails. Drift uses onboard AI systems to steer the craft and best capture the wind. Unlike sailboats, however, when a hydrofoil captures enough wind, it actually lifts out of the water, reducing drag and allowing peak generation of about 3 times higher than wind turbines. Currently, drift requires the use of a human driver to assist in steering, though the company is working on making the craft self-driving. As drift follows the breeze, underwater turbines are used to store energy from wind into hydrogen cells. This stored hydrogen is then brought to shore and used to power the grid. It's actually the overwhelming response from my last hydrogen video that drove me to do this one. So be sure to let me know in the comments below if this is something we should continue talking about. But the creation of hydrogen can be carbon intensive, possibly negating any environmental benefits of the fuel. Hydrogen is usually classed as gray, blue, or green. Gray hydrogen is created by burning fossil fuels to separate the hydrogen gas from oxygen and water in a process known as electrolysis. This is the least appealing type of hydrogen and uses fossil fuels for its creation. Blue hydrogen is similar, but slightly better. It does still require fossil fuels to use, but rather than leveraging fossil fuels as its primary source of production, it actually uses the waste energy from existing coal and methane plants to increase the overall production from the same amount of fuel. And the last is green hydrogen. Green hydrogen, like the name suggests, is actually generated from renewable energies only, but only about 0.1% of all hydrogen production is generated using green methods. This is expected to rise, however, as the cost of renewables continue to fall. And herein lies the issue with drift. Green hydrogen is expensive when compared to gray or blue. And even though drift doesn't need the level of infrastructure that an offshore wind farm does, and it can be constructed in 1/10 of the time, the overall cost of green hydrogen makes it difficult for drift to compete with established industries. Therefore, a reduction in cost is needed if drift wants to become mainstream. Lucky for drift, a new technology has just come to market that could reduce the cost of producing green hydrogen by up to 60%. I've actually covered this in a previous video, but the long and short of it is, Alternative materials have been discovered that will allow hydrogen fuel cells to be cost competitive in the very near future. Even though Drift is still in its early stages of achieving their goal of turning the oceans into a wind farm, there's great promise in the proven technologies they do use. Would you feel comfortable with autonomous ships sailing the high seas? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.